Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is POV, and the Berserk chapter has been out already for a week. However, due to certain circumstances, I've been unfortunately pushed to delay this review, this overview. I have, however, gotten the chance to reread this chapter a couple of times, and it's just like very interesting. I absolutely love this chapter. Like, talk about world building, talk about like hitting it back to back. Like, these past chapters have been very interesting, have been very fun. And let's get on with the overview, shall we? This chapter starts off with the Gus's party entering the tree, just like the ending of last chapter, where Getfring, the mage, the sorcerer, is basically going to introduce them to a whole bunch of people. And we see like these old wise mages, apparently top dogs in the village, high tier sorcerers, very cool. They're having random conversations, some of them which I believe Chibi reviews, which you should look up, CHIBI reviews, bring something very interesting up. Something about like them talking about the eclipse or the full moon that happened, and the fact that these past chapters, like the whole boat trip and everything, like this is for us. It's been a while, but they could have taken part in like 1 or 2 days, and they're just talking, possibly like these mages are possibly just talking like, hey, that shit just happened yesterday, because obviously in their timeline it would happen yesterday. And Shibi also brings up an interesting point, which would be that maybe in the island, the fairy island, the sorcerer island, maybe time works differently, has a different time flow. Maybe one day in the fairy island is like a week in real life, in the human world. And that could create for a whole lot of problems if it's true, and if they stay a little bit too long in that island. Regardless, Guts pushes Getfring to go and see the Elf King. We all know what he wants to ask him. Well, we kind of do. We kind of know what he wants to ask him. He pushes on to see the Flower Storm King, as he puts it. Interesting, cool name. I really am looking forward to seeing him and see how the conversation is gonna go. However, Getfring points out that like Gus's parties right now is very tired. He himself is tired. He doesn't think that they're like comfortable and at ease enough to have a proper conversations with him. And the last thing that Getfring wants Gus to do is just to mess up, say something correctly and maybe offend him, maybe like bring doubt in the king, or come off wrong in the wrong way. So he insists that the party rest, have some tea, eat something, and that's when we transition to them sitting in like this round table, just talking about stories, telling about stories, and we get a nice retelling of Gus's, not really like Gus's journey, but like a short summary, like they just went through like everything that he went through, like him, the Band of the White Hawk, all the apostle fights that he's had, fighting with Mosgus and all that shit. Like, absolutely great, because like the people are like, wow, well, like what kind of guy is this? Like, he went through all of that. And me myself, seeing that in this chapter made me, for like I've read it like 2-3 times at least. It made me want to look at the story of Berserk as from a further point of view than where I was reading it, and by that I mean that I used to just follow along the story and just be like, hey, I'm in the journey with these guys. But now I decided to take a step back and look at it as a story on its whole. And I must admit that Gus's journey is pretty much really like a serious hero tale. Like him, a hero who seeks out in a journey and goes through all kinds of beings, all kinds of monsters to reach a certain goal. Absolutely beautiful, a tale that could be sung, for example. I absolutely love it. I absolutely am crazy about like the whole. I love the series. It's my favorite anime. Excuse me, my favorite manga series of all time so far. And this chapter just made me realize it even more for myself. Um, Regardless, Gethring brings up the point that if they have noticed the tree branches in the skies during the day, and to which the people react to, like, yeah, like more and more they've become more clear. And I believe that the the sailor, the head of the boat, I keep forgetting his name for some reason, he brings up the point that, yeah, like we use those to travel around the seas. We use them like guiding stars basically. And Geffrin brings up, like, listen, that's actually not a good thing. The world is basically all branched from the world tree. Now the world tree is supposed to be, to summarize it as short as possible, it's supposed to be like this passageway between different dimensions. And now it seems to be getting stronger and stronger, so the portals, the passageway is becoming wider and easier for different beings to intersect with one another, which goes well with what Griffith is doing, like bringing these demons into the human world. We've been seeing trolls, we've been seeing more monsters. While if you compare it to when Guts was still in the Band of the Hawk, we barely saw any of those demons, devilish demons. And shortly after the eclipse, a lot more of that shit has been going on. We get a little bit more information regarding Shirka's master and her role in this story, because when we first saw her, she was this witch in the forest who had a pupil, and that's pretty much as we know. Like, she had a connection with Skull Knight. That's pretty much as we knew about her. But we get informed that apparently there are some trees, some forests that drain energy from the world tree. In that way, the passageway to other dimensions, other worlds, was closed a little bit. And the only time during the day that these forests were the weakest were during moons, which could explain why that moon kid was appearing only at nights, because the energy must have been the strongest. The energy from the world tree must have been the strongest at night. And this goes along with what Shirka's master was doing. She was one of the witches in charge of maintaining one of those forests with those trees. And in a way, it brings up a very interesting point, which is what Chibi Reviews also brings up. He brings up the point that if you look at back when Guts defeated that fairy apostle, he kind of burned down a forest, and a forest full of fairies. Could that have been one of those forests with those trees? In a sense, after he burned that forest down, do you think that it made the world tree actually stronger, because he kind of took a leech out of it? And Chibi also brings up the comment on whether or not Griffith was this was one of Griffith's plans to make Guts do such a thing, because not shortly after, but sometime after Griffith's rebirth, he goes after like the forest where Shirka's master was, and burns that shit down too with his apostles. So we also get informed, by the way, in the chapter, that apparently it's been happening worldwide. Like, a lot more of these forests have been taken down, and that's why the tree's getting stronger and stronger. Very interesting add-on to the Berserk story, and I absolutely love it. A very interesting topic, a very interesting concept to go along with. We also get some more information regarding the Beyblade, what it actually is. It basically is just a sort of passageway to another dimension, and more like a force passage that you use to forcibly open a portal through to another dimension. We all kind of have an idea of how that works, but what Gethrin brings up is whether or not the Beyblade that Guts has in his possession is actually Guts's Beyblade, or is it just traveling with Guts? Is it just using Guts to get to someone else? Which is very interesting because, as we all know, like Griffith's Beyblade, he lost it a couple of times, but it came back. It came back to Griffith because it was his Beyblade. So yeah. Next up, um, Serpico kind of compliment. I love this. A little like two panel thing, but Serpico compliments Guts on like, like I like you never fail to surprise me, but like the fact that your arch nemesis is basically like this huge thing, this huge world changing thing. Holy crap! Um, we get the little Isidro part, which I absolutely love, and that is Isidro being like, "Wait, so you were with Griffith in the Battle of the Hawks, right? So you know that like that one knight who slayed all those hundred of soldiers, you gotta introduce me to him." Like him not realizing that Guts is that guy, absolutely great. Um, I can't wait till he finds out because we need a little bit of hard light and tone in Berserk. I see people complaining a lot about Puck. I personally don't mind him. I kind of like him in the story, and he's caused for a good amount of laughs in between the serious moments, which didn't break the immersion for me. Now, Getfring asks Guts about Griffith's ambition. What does he want? What does he want to achieve? And Guts starts off by saying that he originally wanted his own land, but now that he has it, like I'm sure he has bigger. He wants to soar higher. The hawk wants to wants to fly higher, and that's kind of like where the chapter ends. And it makes you think. It makes you. This is one of those chapters where you get information, interesting, very interesting information, little action, but it also lets you question some things regarding the actual series. And I'm completely fine with it. I completely loved it. I like wow, like just can't wait for next week. Next chapter, whenever that may come, and I'm actually looking forward to it because I want to see when Gus is going to arrive with the Elf King and how the conversation is going to go, when he's going to pop the question, what he's actually going to ask, because we all know that, like Skull Knight brought it up, like Casca may not want to revert back, which is an understandable thing, seeing how does she want to remember all that shit that she went through? Like, and if she gets her own self back, will she get all the memories back of everything that she's been through so far that she's technically seen? Because it's kind of like a split personality, and like the Casca that we knew just fucked off because she couldn't handle it, and this tamer Casca hung around with Guts and gave him a whole lot of problems on the way, but it's still a memory. So regardless, I enjoyed the chapter, absolutely loved it. Tell me what you guys thought about it. I just have to ask you guys, like, what do you think about it? What do you think of the World Tree? What do you think about the Beyblade that Guts is traveling with? Like, is it really Guts, or does it have a bigger purpose? What do you think? Are you excited to hear what Gus is gonna ask about to this Elf King about Casca, and whether or not it's a good idea? Will we actually get Casca back in her regular form or not? Because Miura could straight up just say like it's better not to, and maybe hold off for a while. Maybe there's another means that'll happen. Maybe Guts will decide to keep her this way for a while, and maybe Griffith with the almighty god powers that he has, maybe he'll forcibly bring her back to normal, and it could create for like another traumatizing event. Regardless, I loved it. Tell me what you thought about it. My name is POV. I'm going to review this chapter, hopefully the next chapter, hopefully next time on time. Subscribe to my channel. I do also Berserk anime reviews, even though they're not the highlight of my channel, I would say. But if you love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I'm definitely reviewing the anime. Have a good week. Bye.